I have a love-hate relationship with modern technology. I mean, I'm not totally against it, it's modern technology that allows me to talk to you now. But I do wonder how we got from technology being something that's useful to have to technology being something that we can't function without. To be sure, there are people who manage to screw things up without too much technology. Just this morning, our local newspaper carried the story of a man who, with no help from GPS or Google Maps, managed to get his car stuck on a narrow footpath. He couldn't go forwards, he couldn't go backwards, and he couldn't even open the doors. And because he didn't have a phone with him, he couldn't call for help. And so he had to wait an hour and a half for a random passerby. But that story is outweighed by the stories of all the people who switch on their GPS and then switch off their brains. They only wake up again once they find themselves in the middle of a traffic roundabout, a swamp, or the Himalayas. Of course, in those cases, it's not the fault of the technology, it's the fault of people who don't know how to use the technology. The problem occurs when we're forced to use technology against our will. And who are the biggest offenders here? The tax office. You see, in Germany, you now have to submit your tax return electronically, which is an inconvenience for older independent tradespeople who never needed a computer before and are coming up for retirement now. We're talking about 60-something-year-old carpenters who don't know the difference between electronic mail and a material that was popular in the 1950s for making cooking equipment. And until very recently, they didn't have to know the difference. Of course, submitting this stuff electronically would probably make a lot of sense if it helped to cut down on the paperwork. The problem is that it doesn't, because you still have to submit all the paperwork exactly as you did before. So much for saving the rainforests. And the software that you have to install on your computer to make this happen never works properly. It always fails with a helpful error message like "transfer failed," which is basically your computer saying, well, I don't know mate, it's beyond me. I sometimes wonder what would have happened in Star Wars if, when Darth Vader gave the order to destroy Alderaan, all the computer screens on the Death Star went blank except for a message that said, "An unexpected error has occurred." So you have to phone up, but the person you're calling is not a technician, it's a tax official who knows even less about computers than you do. So you have to actually walk them through the troubleshooting process. Okay, now you have to tell me to switch it off and on again. What happens next is probably hilarious, but I wouldn't know because it's my wife who does the Rewboss finances. And when I hear her laugh the way she does when she's dealing with the tax office, I usually find it safer to back away very slowly. Remember, you can always send me a postcard at this address. You can also find me elsewhere on the web. Visit rewboss.com to find out how.